So, welcome. We're here today with Daryl Arendt. He is my insurance guy at Campbell and Halliburton Insurance, and some of you may know him as our 2:30 pace bunny for the Queen City Marathon. Daryl's also closing in on his 10-time club, and will be joining it in 2021 with a handful of other people, I am sure. So, welcome, Daryl, today.
Thanks, Sean.
Well, we'll get started today having you tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of your experience with running, and how you got started a few years ago.
So I started a number of years ago. I thought I'd really like to run. I had a pair of shoes. I went to the field house and I flopped. Everything hurt. I had no idea what I was doing and I quit. So for anybody out there who's quit, I know what that's like. A while later, I looked at myself in the mirror once too often and said, I got to do something. So I joined a gym. I got a trainer. My wife took one look at the training plan and said, good grief, this man's going to kill my husband. I am here to say he didn't kill me. But one of the things that happened is as I was starting my workout, I'd spend a bit of time on the treadmill. And I realized I actually like this. This cardio, this running, call me strange, but it's good. And the course of the summer, I thought, I wonder, is there any chance I could maybe just possibly run 5 whole kilometers? So one of the things, Sean, there was a reason I was picked last in school for sports. The reason for that is you had to get picked and couldn't be not picked. So for me to run 5 kilometers was a huge deal. Did that in Wascana Park, Terry Fox run. It was absolutely amazing. One of my friends said it well. He said, careful, Daryl, this stuff gets addicting. Truth, it does. I talked to a friend of mine. He said, well, Daryl, are you aware of this thing called the resolution run? I said, no, what's that? Well, it's a January 1st, New Year's Day run. And it's like, James, that's winter. Why would I do that? And yet I listened to my friend, got some gear, started training, and did my second 5K on Jan 1. Fun fact, at that point, our mayor, Mayor Pat Fiacco, was also a runner, so getting a high five from the mayor, crossing a 5K finish line was a good time. So I thought, okay, I maybe should see what I can do and run a little bit more. So I connected with Renee Grube, who was the coach from Track and Trail, and said, I think I'd like to join your 10K group. She said, well, how much have you run? I said, I've run 10K. She goes, so why are you going to train to run a 10K? Run a half marathon. It's like, Renee, what am I doing? And I had the good sense to actually listen to Renee. I joined a training group, ran my first half marathon back in 2012. That's my distance. I absolutely love it. It's something just incredibly rewarding about running 21.1 just for fun. That's where I started, Sean.
Very, very cool. I think it's a familiar story for a lot of us, kind of working our way up and kind of coming to it unknowingly almost that we were going to enjoy the running experience.
Yeah.
And what I'm hearing there is a lot of it actually why you stick with it and kind of moved through to the half marathon was kind of the relationships you built with some of those runners, the friends that brought you along, and then coaches and individuals like Renee who kind of said, you know what, let's try the next step.
Absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about that half marathon training, kind of how did that go, and what was that first half marathon like?
Fun and fun. So I joined with a half marathon group, which was absolutely amazing. There were great coaches. There was Maury and Maxine and Renee, and they basically walked us through running hills, doing speed work, and on those hot days having freezies there at the finish line when we were running speed work in the heat. People that said, you guys can do this. I ran my first half with two ladies that I had trained with. It was great because we'd run together. We had put in so many long runs. You build those relationships and you find out who each other are, and then you get to race day, and the weeks of training paid off, where you say, how's this going to work? What's it actually going to be like? I've done this, and I've done this, and I've done this. I've never put this all together on race day. Okay, let's trust my coaches. That was a big part. There were people that I started running with back in that very first training group that I haven't stayed in close touch with, but there's still that camaraderie when you bump into each other, for the times when you do run together. Actually, one of my running friends who I've probably run with the most consistently, we started back, we were in that same running group. You build those relationships where you have people that, there's a reason you show up on Saturday morning at 7. You got people counting on you. There's no excuse to sleep in. You have those appointments that we are going to meet, we are going to run, we're going to do this. It was absolutely incredible. I was a newbie, so I was learning from people who actually knew what they were doing. It was great, and people who were encouraging. So that was training. Race day, one of the nice things we had done in training is we had crossed that 21K mark at least once. I'd have to go back and check, once or twice, so I knew I can do it. Now, can I do it in the time I want? So lots of butterflies, lots of jitters the night before, and it was absolutely incredible. Starting at the TC Douglas place, running, circling, I guess that would be the north part of Wascana Lake. And there in the sidelines, there's John Stanton from Running Room. It's like, hey, that's kind of cool. This iconic running legend is here in Regina watching us do our race. Very cool. It was just a really, really rewarding experience. The training works. Crossing the finish line going, I did it. If I would have talked to my past self of 5, 10, 20 years ago and said, hey, buddy, you're going to run over 20 kilometers? Like, yeah, no, that's not happening. But to realize that I could do it. It was fun. Fun is probably the best word, fun and rewarding.
Very cool. Now you've taken that experience that you had yourself and you've been able to I guess, share that with others. In the last couple of years, you've been one of the PACE team members for the Queen City Marathon. Tell us a little bit about the pacing that you do and kind of why and how does that work?
So there's been a couple of times when I have been able to get a personal best. Those times don't happen too often. Back in 2016, I think it was, I was running in Edmonton, running Edmonton Half Marathon, finishing up holidays, and I just stuck on my pacer. If he slowed down, I slowed down. If he sped up, I sped up. And I crossed the finish line a couple of minutes ahead of what I thought I could. Fantastic. I love being able to be that person for somebody else. And I love being able to be that person that doesn't pace the super fast people. If you're wanting to qualify Boston, you don't run with me. You got other people that are going to help you get across for Boston. But to be able to see people where they say, I never thought I could do it. So there's something, when I've paced it, I'm going to wear at least one watch. Once I think I even had 2. And I get to be the guy who gets to be just that little bit obsessive. I'm looking at my watch, probably no word of a lie, 15, 20 times a minute. I'm running and I'm looking because I know that if you're running with me and you want to cross at a given time, I got to get you across at that time. And I tell people there's going to be 3 times that I won't. If A, I fall and break my leg, sorry, all bets are off. I'm bitten by a rattlesnake, not going to happen. And I'm abducted by aliens. But other than that, I'm going to get you across at that time. We're not going to cross later than then. we are going to cross earlier. So it's a lot of practicing. It's a lot of time spent in it, but it is one of the most rewarding things I've done. I love the personal bests, the personal records, those are great. But right up there, and possibly even a little bit above, is getting somebody else across. There's something in just hardwired into my DNA that says that's it. Running is about not competing with somebody else, but doing the best you can. So now in these COVID days, this wouldn't hold true, but a couple of years ago, we got across the finish line. I'm getting great big sweaty hugs from people that 3 hours ago I had never met, but now it was, hey, we did this. And watching people go, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to follow my training, and I'm going to get across. That's fun. And then also gives me an excuse for 2.5 hours to run and scream like an idiot. When I see people at the sidelines, to try to get people ramped up, get that little extra burst of adrenaline. Let people that are running feel the fact that there are people who are cheering them on. That's huge. People often think, this is just me, but then to see people like the folks at the Wheelhouse aid station, cheering and screaming and getting people excited, it's fun.
Now, you referred to yourself as the dentist pacer. Why?
Yes. That's a shout out to Janet Mills, who is now back in the Maritimes. I think it was her partner who said, oh, you're running the dentist pace. It's like, pardon me? Well, 2:30, you're tooth hurty. And there was that initial groan of, yes, the tooth, it hurties. So I'll run the dentist pace. So it's a bad pun. My family's used to my bad puns. There's no good ones, but that's it.
I was going to say, you took the mantle, and I know that you ran with it quite successfully.
Yes.
And knowing your humor, it fits perfectly.
It works. Thanks.
In terms of your own personal goals for running, is anything coming up on the horizon that you want to kind of highlight or give a shout out to?
Yeah, that's been a bit of a moving target. There was a time, there's a few races I'd really, really like to do. A bucket list. I spent a year decades ago teaching English in Japan. I'd like to go back. I'd love to run the streets of Osaka. That was home. COVID, I don't know. Not sure how that's going to work. Goals have changed. Primarily now it's I want to make sure I'm out there and I'm enjoying, and I'm running for fun. I'm running for health. I'm running for fitness. QCM is always on the horizon. That's my go-to race. There's a few that I love. I love hypothermic half, which is hopefully the coldest days of the year. And I love doing QCM and Gopher. Some of our local runs are just great. Would I like to say I'm going to shave off 15 minutes? I'm going to qualify for this or for that? I'd like to. It's probably not going to happen. So it's about saying I'm enjoying and I want to be the best me I can be, and to still keep loving what I'm doing. That's the goal.
That's awesome. In terms of advice you might share with other runners, I mean, beyond the enjoyment aspect of it, is there advice you have for, say, either the new runner getting started or even those veteran runners like yourself?
A couple of things. For the new runners, get the right shoes. If you don't know, go to a place like Track and Trail or Running Room. But the biggest thing, whether it's for the new people or people like me who've been doing this for a while, or people who've been doing it a lot longer, is you're not competing with anybody else. It's a personal best. There are people who are faster runners. There are people who are further runners, and I applaud them and I cheer them on. But it's about competing against me, about being the best Daryl that I can be, not being the best somebody else. Something I love about our community. A number of years ago, I've been running with Marathon Matters, and there was a running room Learn to Run group. Our group had finished our run. These intrepid people came they were 3-4 weeks into their training program. They hit the ledge. With one accord, all of these runners, these people who have run Boston and qualified it multiple times, stand up and applauded these new runners. Why? Because they were being the best that they could be. Just compete with yourself.
No, I love that. And completely appreciate, even not considering myself as like a new runner, the shoe part. My shoes that I've run with for the last probably 10 years are no longer made. So I've spent this year trying to find a new
Oh no.
shoe. So it was like starting from scratch. So I can completely agree and appreciate that statement of getting the right shoes.
Get the right shoes.
It's and then buy 10 of them so that when they don't make them anymore, you still got them. So
Yep.
we'll leave it there. Thank you very much, Daryl.
Thanks, Sean.
We look forward to seeing you pacing in the near future at another Queen City Marathon.
Absolutely. Thanks, Sean.